My name is Richard Roderick Jones and I'm a composer and musical academic.
Richard Roderick Jones is a prolific Welsh-born composer of numerous musical works which have toured all over the UK and overseas to great critical acclaim. He has an encyclopedic knowledge of classical music and has immersed himself in it from the early part of his life in South Wales to his semi-retirement in the Cotswolds. Throughout his life, Richard has passed on his knowledge to countless people through lecturing and performance, and we wanted to capture this breadth of knowledge and boundless enthusiasm, and to get an insight into what drives and motivates such an intensely musical mind. We started by asking Richard where it all began.
When I was 7, I went to a concert given by the Halle Orchestra, conducted by Charles Groves, I think. So I'm talking 60 years ago exactly. They did a Sibelius symphony in the second part. They began with Egmont of Beethoven, but the work at the end of the first half was the Rachmaninoff second piano concerto. That's the Rachmaninoff with Julius Katchen as a soloist. And in the second half, Julius Katchen was sat in the row in front of me. I had a chat with him afterwards as a 7-year-old, and I thought then, I want some of this. It just absolutely just blew me away. You spoke earlier, you asked me earlier about things which have meant something. That was a beginning. That was just right. That's to be worked out. I still had the business of wanting to be a doctor or wanting to be a history teacher or whatever. But I took music as a hobby, you know. But then it struck me at 16 or 15, once I'd started composing, that really this was going to be my life. Music had to be the most important thing.
Was it easy then to make a living, make a career from it?
No. What I decided is, like an awful lot of other composers, I decided that I needed to teach. Didn't particularly want to teach in school. I mean, teaching at Ulster Grammar was something I hadn't, in 1950, and that was a lovely experience because it was a grammar school, not just the word grammar school. But as I was finishing my 4th year at the Royal College in 1970, March or April, I saw an advert for a lecturer, grade 1, needed at Stratford College, so I applied and I got it. Actually, they gave it to somebody else to begin with. But I was called in to the interviewing panel for the second time. They said, "Look, we want you to know, Richard, that although you didn't get the job, you were the runner-up." So I was thrilled to get that far. 3 days later, phone call. The woman they offered it didn't want it. Can you imagine the excitement? Yeah. And she decided against it, so they gave it to me.
So was it at that point then you knew that?
Oh yes, I mean music was going to be my thing from the age of 14, 15, 16. Yeah,
and before you'd been to that, because it's remarkable that you remember like every detail of that concert you went to when you were 7.
Yes, I just remember the concert. Yeah, my grandmother was the secretary of the music club. She was held in the Central Hall in Newport in South Wales.
Was it her then that suggested you go?
Yes.
To the concert?
Yeah.
So without
it hit me like a sledgehammer.
So before that, you hadn't really?
Well, my father had some lovely LPs of Mozart symphonies, so they were part of my growing up. I can remember when I was about 13 or 14 buying a recording of Beethoven's Second Symphony. Last movement. That's sort of that particular very distinctive beginning of Beethoven. Last movement of Beethoven's Second Symphony. Now I bought the thing when I was an LP and I was 13 or 14, and I knew this music. And yet consciously I could never remember ever having heard it until Mum heard it. Oh yes, we used to have it at 78. Old 78 when you were about 3. It's obviously gone in, you see. Okay, I knew it, I could sing along with it. I didn't think I'd ever heard it. But that's what happens when, one can never really remember much before the age of 4. I can remember the coronation very clearly, but I was 5 and a half by then. But that's obviously what happened. And no, music was just I had to have a career in music. I realised I just loved it to begin with. I knew a lot about it, but I mean, as soon as I got my O level, and a year before O level, 15 years old, 16 years, it's got to be this.
You were the composers who were the people that inspired you to.
I can remember as an early teenager being absolutely smitten by Rachmaninoff, who's the great Russian. You know, there's nothing to do with my music at all now, but it hit me hard when I was 11, 12, 13, Rachmaninoff, and then Vaughan Williams. And then at O level I had to study a ceremony of carols by Britten, and that opened the world to me. Well, going to the Royal College of Music was an eye-opener.
As a
student.
As a student, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
because I mean Britten and Michael Tippett and Elgar and Owen Vaughan Williams were all connected with the Royal College, you see. I was accepted at the Royal Academy as well. But the Royal College was extraordinary. I studied with Anthony Milner, a fabulous teacher, and when he was poorly for a few months I studied with Herbert Howells, who had been a pupil of Stanford, knew Vaughan Williams. But I think that the two happiest times I could think of were between 1979 and 85, which were particularly marvellous years when I first returned to the Welsh College. They were wonderful. They were wonderful times, 6 years. And then more latterly, when I was composer in residence, now that's a posh title, at Ulster Grammar School. Ulster is a town near Stratford-on-Avon, and it's a grammar school. It's wonderful. It's within the top 6 or 7 schools in the country. And Ian Blakey, the now not retired, but he's moved on. He said, would I be in composer in residence there and write them an opera and do this and so on. That was fabulous. I mean, I never thought I'd be so enthusiastic about teaching in a school. Me in a school? Oh yeah, fabulous, wonderful. You know, and the kids are so intelligent. It's elitist, really. It was not like a secondary modern or a current day comprehensive. But that was a wonderful experience. Those two, I think. Yes, so those years between 79 and 85 at the Welsh College and working at Ulster Grammar between 2002 and 2011 when I retired. Yes.
Yeah, I think elitism is something that Martin's spoken about as well. So have you encountered that anywhere else?
At Oxford University, where I taught for 2 years. Yes. Students were fine, but some of the fellows were not. I won't say any more than that.
No names. So it was a problem then that you weren't part of the sort of the Oxbridge establishment then?
Yes, I mean the students are marvellous, and the education they get is fantastic, and of course it's still a one-to-one system. And a lot of these dons are first-rate academics, they just weren't awfully nice people. I found. Some of them are lovely. The lecturers, you know, who've got their PhD and they remain at their college for 5 years and they've got to move on. The college lecturers were fine, lovely young men and women. But sometimes the fellows were not very pleasant.
What about the students of your career? Are they keen?
Oh yes. I can think of. I taught myself at Crosskeys College, you know, when Martin was there as head of music, just one day a week, and some of those students were wonderful, terrific fun. And at the Welsh College, students marvellous. At Oxford, the students were wonderful. Stratford College, Welsh College, particularly good at Welsh College. Yes, I've been very lucky. I've had some marvellous experiences. There was a girl I sat opposite at lunch in Crosskeys College. Martin was there, I was here, talking to one of the students there. And she said, how can you study music in university? Well, what's there to study? I thought, well, music history, aesthetics, harmony, counterpoint, orchestration, composition, performance, conducting, with 8. Oh. because she didn't understand. It was simply, nice girl, it was nothing to do with that, but she simply hadn't heard of that. She thought music was just something you listened to.
How do you start? What is your starting point?
Well, in terms of a choral work, it's a text. And so when you've got the words, of course, the form is self-evident, the structure. 5 verses, for example, of 5 lines. So the first and second will be the same music, and then the third and fourth will be contrasting, and the fifth will be the same as the first 2 again, to give you a sort of ABA shape. It just depends on what the piece is. Instrumental music with no text, with no singing, is quite different. But if you've got a text, words to set, your form is already there. The structure you're going to use is suggested by the text you're using. Yeah.
And would you go through it in a linear way, a chronological way? Would it start at the beginning and
I
through the
tend
to the
to.
end?
I'm very unimaginative. Yes, I don't do the last movement first. For example, Wagner's Lohengrin, you know, the third act first, and then the other 2 backwards. You know, extraordinary. I couldn't think like. I'm not Wagner. He was a great composer. But yes, I tend to start at the beginning and finish at the end. Because so often in music, one misses the point that the creative process is largely mathematical. I'm not saying it's nothing to do with the heart as well, but the process, that's a computer there. However beautiful, that is a computer that puts stuff together, and the form and the structure and the way the shape, the things that you can do in music, that is actually something upside down. Can I give you an example on the piano?
Yeah.
Just listen. Do you know this tune? Yeah, Paganini. 24th Caprice for solo violin, and it's a tune which has been used for variations by a lot of people. Now, if you look at the Rachmaninoff Rhapsody on the theme of Paganini, you get this. Okay, that's a variation. Now, the Rhapsody on the theme of Paganini is a set of variations for piano and orchestra. Right? Now, how is that related to that? Now, put it in the minor, turn it upside down. That's what composers do. You see, and this is the process. Composers take things and turn them upside down, backwards, inside out. So when a composing student at Ulster Grammar or even at Oxford would come and say, oh, look, I've got the first 6 bars, I don't know what to do next. I said, well, let's look at the 6 bars. Yes. And they said, well, there. Take that upside down, backwards, inside out. Have a look at it. You know, there's certain composers too who use such little material. Bartok could build an entire work on a 4-note phrase. It's all in front of you. And that's a good example, that Rachmaninoff. Of taking the tune upside down, right, up as an inversion, an augmentation. You stretch the note values, making them longer, and you turn this thing upside down. And composers, it's the sort of thing that composers do, is to look at the potential. Otherwise, you can do this sort of thing. Rimsky-Korsakov, the Russian, you know, Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov died in 1908. One of the Russian 5 with Borodin and Mussorgsky and so on. He said that composition is 10% inspiration and 90% perspiration. It's working your material. It's not, oh, it's great creative genius. Rubbish. It's using the maths of it. I'm having a row. Not a row exactly. I was taking a class of 20 second-year singers and instrumentalists at the Welsh College. And I mentioned this business about the creative process being mathematical. I said, not the end result. She wouldn't have it, this girl. She wouldn't have it. Would not. You're talking rubbish. The creative process is largely computerized. I'm not saying you don't get carried away by writing a marvellous tune. Of course you do. But a lot of my music, quite a lot of it anyway, 31 works are music for the stage. I was musical director of the National Youth Theatre of Wales from 1978 to 87, and did scores for As You Like It, The Tempest, Much Ado About Nothing, and so on. And had a marvellous time there with a wonderful director called Alan Vaughan Williams, who was the director of the National Youth Theatre from 1976, I think, until 1987. And when he retired, all the staff went with him. The choreographer, singing tutor, me. We thought, no, we don't want to go back. I was invited back actually as composer again, and with the National Youth Theatre by the new director, but I didn't want to. Once something's finished, you don't ever retrace, you know. You can't be too mathematical about it, but I mean, if you're in doubt, I have spent as much as an hour looking at a chord and there's a wrong note there somewhere. That isn't right. You go to the piano, you play it off, and there's something not right. And it can be simple little, it's like tweaking the points on a car engine, you know? It's a simple thing, that's really F sharp. It's because it sounds better, at least to my ears. I just, at the moment, I don't think, how can I put it? I don't think I got very much more to say. When you've written 137 works, that's 31 scores for the theatre, a lot of them are over an hour. 16 or 17 orchestral works, including 3 symphonies, a piano concerto, a concerto for orchestra, 3 chamber concertos and other works. And you've got over 30 chamber works for between 2 players or a single player and 6 people, and 52 choral works from big choral oratorios and stuff, right the way down to little carols. I can imagine everything there. You know, you've done a hell of a lot of, well, you saw on the shelves all the scores, and the number of scores there are, but they're that thick, you know. There are 2,000 bars of music. I've written so much. I don't really feel, at the moment, I'd like to feel it's not permanent, but at the moment I really don't really want to compose very much. My output tends to fall into 2 categories. It's the stuff which is for amateur choirs, amateur players, or youth orchestras and so on. It tends to be a little bit more tonal. The stuff is more tuneful. Whereas my chamber music, and I've written 3 symphonies and so on, this stuff is a good deal harder idiomatically. But I do both. But the other composer did this. Britain did exactly the same thing. You go between stuff which is very tonal, very tuneful, and stuff which is more personal, if you like.
Is that a decision? Is that like a personal decision you'd make before starting,
yes.
Or is it something it doesn't develop?
There's a Roderick Jones A and a Roderick Jones B, and I would decide. Writing for the Erskine Choir, you write a tonal piece, obviously, and something which is going to be very much more. The audience will love it, the choir will love it, because that's the sort of thing they'd want to sing. And in the one piece in a single movement, which they have done a couple of times very well, but it wasn't popular with them because it's a slightly harder idiom. I want to write music which people are going to enjoy. I don't like this idea I'm writing for posterity. I think the unborn is a very just unsatisfactory audience. You know, I like people to like my stuff. I'd like them to be challenged by it as well. And my best pieces, I think, is my piano quartet, violin, viola, cello, piano, which has been having lots of performances and has been recorded recently. And that's difficult music in comparison with Game Circle or The Altar Fire. But the audiences have loved it during its performances. So it depends on what sort of modernism it is. But there's something in the piano quartet which has grabbed hold of audiences. It's a single movement lasting half an hour. And they really have followed it through. You know, they followed it through and they said, gosh, it's modern, but I understand that. It's like a birth to death piece. It's all there. It's really 4 movements rolled into one, you know. So yes, I think that piece works. But it's not an easy piece. But it's had a couple of performances where people have been really raved about it. I'm not trying to get commercial success. It would be nice to be worth as much as Lloyd Webber, nearly $1 billion. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? But no, I never tried to write. I'm now going to write a piece that can make me money. No, I just don't think like that. Even if it's a tonal piece for amateur choir. But those are the works that are done and done and done are the tonal ones.
And you still lecture as well, don't you?
Yes, yes. I still have a class here in Ilmington on a Tuesday morning. One course has just finished now on the history of the symphony from Beethoven to Shostakovich, and that went quite well. Just 6 or 7 people, not very many. The village is only 620 people. It doesn't sound very many out of 620 people. When you think, when I lectured for the University of Cardiff in Newport, I had 12 to 15 people, and 200,000 people in Newport. So actually the proportion in Ilmington is rather better than it was in Newport. But yes, then all that sort of thing. I love talking about music.
Yeah. And I think you, from what I can gather, you talk a lot about the personalities of composers as well. So
well, yes, I think it keeps the thing vibrant and alive.
So add more to the music when you listen to it, then.
Yes, I think so. I mean, there are those composers who were lovely, smashing people, and those horrors. Wagner was a horror.
Why was
Brahms was a nice man. Dvorak was a particularly nice man. Tchaikovsky was a nice man, but just could not handle his homosexuality, for example. He just couldn't handle it. And I suppose being gay in Tsarist Russia in the late 19th century must have been pretty heavy. So he had a sad time.
If you were being exiled to a desert island and you could take one recording of any, including your own, what would it be?
Bach's B minor Mass.
That was a very quick
answer.
The
B minor Mass, without any hesitation. I thought it's the greatest thing I've heard. On my tombstone, if I'm not barbecued, it might be up to Sue, you never know. He was a pro, not a genius, and no bloody genius. You can remove that word, bloody.
Why are you not a genius?
Oh, I don't think I'm a genius. I think I'm good. I think I'm bloody good, but I don't believe I'm a genius.
Right.
People like Benjamin Britten are genius.
What defines a genius then? The
person who's got the most dazzling intellectual grasp of something is a genius. I mean, dazzling intellectual grasp, like an Einstein, or a Leonardo da Vinci, or a Mozart, who arrived in Linz on a Tuesday for a bit of a break. He went there incognito with Franz's son and his wife Constanza, and somebody recognised him and knocked us up a symphony. 4 days later they gave a premiere of the Linz Symphony. It lasts 25 minutes. What's that all about? That's genius. Pure intellectual. The capacity for being able to see beyond normal human experience is a genius. People like Einstein, who realized that energy was equivalent to mass times the speed of light. And then how he describes how actually the universe is curved, how space-time is curved, because a planet wants to go straight on. It wouldn't want to curve around the sun. The sun bends, warps space-time, which forces the planet around it. And having that in 1915, the general theory of relativity, that is genius. And mathematically prove it. That's extraordinary. Or Shakespeare. The things he writes, it breaks their heart. Wonderful. The ability to say, in a grain of sand, everything. Something which some playwrights of the same time, will take. How can I put it? Will take 3 sentences to say. He could say in one phrase. What a piece of work is man! What one piece said it all. What a bunch mankind can be. He's right. What a piece of work. It's a terrific ability to say the right word at the right time. Oh, right. Well, a couple of them. Dazzlingly talented. A polyglot. Do everything. Jazz piano, piano accompanist, piano and orchestra, composer of operas, conductor, Henri Previn. Anything the man can't do. Every single thing. Brilliant, outstanding. That's almost genius. He was so talented. Leonard Bernstein was another. He wasn't an awfully nice man, I don't think. But he could write West Side Story. He could write, oh gosh, what's the name of the opera? Candide, based on the Voltaire novel. He could write 3 symphonies. He was one of the finest conductors of Mahler around. Everything. In Britain, great composer. Greater than those 2 Americans I mentioned. I think that's a staggeringly great composer. He was also a superb accompanist and one of the best conductors I've ever seen.